All right, so this is my first ever YouTube video. Uh, Never really thought I'd make one, but um, last year and a couple years leading up to that, as a as a gamer, you might be able to tell from the shirt. Um, I found myself still loving games, but a lot of the individual picks I was making and playing, even though I came away from them thinking like, "Oh, that's a good game," it just did not rise to the level of not even just enjoyment, but like when a really good game hits, it you can't stop thinking about it, and you know, it just stays with you forever. And it feels very worth the limited time on this earth that you're putting into it. And I found repeatedly over the last couple of years that games that I was playing that I would say on paper were good. And, I would tell you I had a good time playing them. Uh, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, the Resident Evil 4 remake. Um, these are all things that just were not hitting like their predecessors were. Like Wukong obviously owes a lot to the Dark Souls games. The Dark Souls games just hit different. Um, and similarly, Resident Evil 4 remake, I like it. I like Resident Evil 2 remake and 3 remake also, but none of them rise to the level of Resident Evil 4, the original, which I think still is just like an unparalleled masterpiece. It kind of the definitive statement in that genre. Um, so part of it is just like I'm I find myself playing games that are kind of derivative of games I'd loved in the past and using that to steer my habits of what it is that I end up playing, and that ends up being underwhelming. Um, and the other thing that led me to turning on the camera is that I was playing Shinobi Art of Vengeance and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound this year. And I liked Ragebound well enough, but Art of Vengeance I found really dissatis what is the word? Unsatisfactory. And specifically had been thinking this doesn't really seem like a Shinobi game. And so last year, around the time I was playing and thinking about and being kind of let down by Art of Vengeance, I went back and I played a bunch of old Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi games. Finally played Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master for the first time, and played a bunch of other kind of ninja action platformers generally. And yeah, really came away from that thinking that just it like if I want to play a ninja action platformer, there are 30 years of classics. Why am I wasting time or why am I choosing to play the one that released in 2025 rather than looking back at the whole long history of the medium? So those two things together made me feel like I needed to be more intentional in how I was choosing what to play, rather than being led along by the nose by the release calendar, and by a sense of old favorites or habits that had built up over the years. So, like, I knew that I liked Souls likes, I knew that I liked Metroidvanias, I knew that I liked action survival horror games. I knew that I liked open world action RPGs. Um, and so I decided I need to mix it up more. And I didn't even know this was a thing when I got the idea, but I made a bingo board of video game genres, 5x5 grid. And I set it as a goal for myself for 2026 to play through a bunch of genres, including some that I do play, but a lot that I've kind of like written off or tended to steer clear of on the assumption that I learned, I learned from experience, oh, I don't like this kind of game that much. I'd rather not play something quite like this. And so, you know, that means that I've got like a long list of genres that I have just told myself aren't for me. So I don't play sports games. I rarely play FPS games. I tend not to play multiplayer PvP games. I don't play racing games. I don't play roguelikes. And like all of that is just really stacking up in a way that I think is counterproductive to my satisfaction in gaming. So I made a bingo board. When the year started, I was already partway through a playthrough of Gravity Circuit, which is a Mega Man Zero inspired action platformer that had been on my backlog for a while, but I got a good sale on it and just dove in. So because I was already midway through that, I made that like action platformer kind of the free space in the middle of the board, um, and has set myself some quarter by quarter goals. So by the end of Q1, the goal is to get a full bingo on the board. And then by the end of Q2, so the end of June, um, add two more bingos for a total of three. And then by the end of September, three more bingos for a total of six. And then by the end of the year, all 25, so 12 bingos total on the board. All five vertical, all five horizontal, both diagonals. You probably know how a bingo board works. I don't know why I felt like I had to spell that out. Anyhow, um, the goal for this YouTube channel is to make a series of videos over the year. Uh, After I beat each of these games, hopefully I make it through all 25. But beat all of these games, and after every one, record a video talking about my experience with it and my experience and thoughts about the genre and how I feel that, maybe some sense of how it's changed over the years, uh, but also just trying to orient myself uh, towards these different genres in a way that I really want to like test my own assumptions and see what I can get out of them that I haven't been getting already. So yeah, first up is going to be Gravity Circuit. After that, it's probably going to be a racing game, TBD. See you next time.